What's up, Astro fam? So today I'm going to be talking about Mars in Taurus to continue the Mars series. I wasn't necessarily going to go in order, but I got a request for Taurus and then Gemini, so that's how I'm moving. So Mars in Taurus can be a pretty stubborn kind of energy sometimes. They're very fixated and very grounded, and they take a long time to formulate their actions, and they might move at a slower, steadier, consistent pace. They're not someone that is going to take risks or make spontaneous decisions. They're really going to ruminate about it for a while, feel it, they get really thrown out of whack if their environment is just changed really quickly, or if random stuff happens and they have to address it. Like, they're really not good at stuff like that. They prefer to be more calculated about it and take a longer time to do things. That's not to say, like, if a fire suddenly is happening in their house, Taurus in Mars is someone that can patiently and steadily walk through the choices that need to be made. They can stay grounded and they're not gonna freak out or anything. They can be like, okay, A, B, C, until it's done. So they're a very consistent and reliable kind of person. Like, if Mars and Taurus says they're gonna do something, they'll definitely do it. It might happen on their time frame more so than your time frame, but they haven't forgot about it or anything. And they're really true to their word. Mars and Taurus is really loyal with their actions. So they're not going to make empty promises, because that's just really not the kind of people that they are. They'll definitely take action when it comes to pleasure. They might be a very pleasure-seeking kind of motivated person. That is to say, like, when they're hungry or they want to go shopping, they might get really energized to go out and gather resources for themselves or their loved ones. They like to provide space and shelter and food and that kind of a thing. So they, in essence, they enjoy working. They like accumulating resources and gathering the things that they need. That really is a big drive for them. I feel like Taurus and Mars has the potential to be lazy if things get too consistent. That's the only drawback with this sign, is that they get too comfortable and too safe, and they're doing the same kinds of things all of the time. They might end up taking shortcuts or getting a little bit depressed and not really know what's going on. So as much as external circumstances can throw you off your game, so to speak, it might be good for you to challenge yourself to do things a little bit differently here and there at a pace that you're comfortable with, just so you don't get kind of stuck in a rut. But typically Mars signs are very hardworking people. They often work with their hands, and Mars and Taurus is a very physical person. In terms of, again, drive, like, they probably would get really hyped to give a massage to somebody or exercise with you or go out into nature. They can get very active when it comes to those very earthly things that they enjoy, whatever that might be. And leading into that, so sex for a Mars in Taurus person is probably not very experimental. It might not be too out of the box. They kind of know what they like, and they're comfortable with certain things, and they're not comfortable with certain things, and they don't really like to budge. But they're very, like, sturdy and passionate, and they might have quite a lot of stamina and a lot of strength. They might like incorporating the senses into their experience, like chocolate covered strawberries or massage candles or anything like that. I won't get too into it. There are plenty of ways to do that. Have candles burning, what have you. It's really an earthly, physically physical experience for them. They might really be attracted to the way that their partner smells. They're also very attracted to just straight up aesthetic beauty, and the eye of the beholder, of course. They really like to admire the body of their partner and how they smell and taste and touch and skin on skin. Like, it's very sensual for Mars and Taurus. So while they might not be super wild with anything that they do, it's a very passionate experience for them, and it's very important in a relationship that they can connect on that earthy physical level. Even just cuddling and touching their partner, some of that kind of more is a Venus thing, but Mars and Taurus definitely likes touch and physical affection, and they like to express their attraction like that. If Mars and Taurus likes you, they will want you in their house. They'll cook for you. They'll probably pay for a lot of your things. Mars and Taurus can definitely be like a sugar daddy kind of a thing. Also a Taurus Venus, but they just like to provide and give, and they want you in their space. They want you around them. They'll playfully touch you. They'll sit close to you. You know, that kind of a thing. They're pretty direct and straightforward when they like somebody, though they might take their time. They might let it build. They might move patiently and slowly, but a lot of people will probably like this. Mars and Taurus, well, maybe they can be stubborn and kind of headstrong and set on one individual, and they have a really hard time letting go or moving on to somebody else. They're also very polite about it to the best of their ability. They're not going to just break somebody's boundaries because they know how that feels for them. So they're very cautious of stuff like that, and they move slower, and they're gentler and patient and all of those things. So those are really good attributes that they also possess. As far as anger goes, there's two elements here at play. So Taurus Mars isn't someone that's gonna get reactionary with you at all. They're not someone that might even express the fact that they're angry if you do something at first. They're the kind of person that it's like you keep poking the bear, and eventually on the 500th poke, it's gonna explode and rip your face off. That's kind of how they are. They're incredibly patient. They don't really get angry unless it builds for a long time, but they're good at keeping it back. And Taurus likes for the energy to be stable and more grounded, so they don't like to raise the emotional levels up like that or make decisions that anger people. But when it comes to defending themselves, or if they just are at a breaking point and they really can't hold it back anymore, then like the bull is loose. You know, be aware. Mars and Taurus, when they're angry, is really not good for the person that they're angry at. They're just going to completely bulldoze you and run you over and probably cut you out. Like, they don't like getting pushed to that point. If you can kind of tame them and calm them down, or if you're able to do that for your own self, then it could happen and play out a lot differently. But generally, my advice, if you have Mars and Taurus, is that you have got to give people hints that what they're doing is upsetting you. And because you're so patient, trust me, it's not going to upset them. People want to know what they're doing wrong in relationships, or really anything, even at work. You know, to have someone, whatever, put their coffee on your desk every single day and it leaves a little coffee ring, and it's like you never tell them that, they're not going to know that. So on the 20th time that they do that, you knock their coffee over and tell them to fuck off, they're going to be so confused about what actually happened, and it's not really a good way to communicate with people. So my advice really, if you have this sign, is to just try and suck it up and realize that you have to sometimes disturb the peace just a little bit so that you can keep a greater peace. Because Taurus and Libra really don't like ruffling feathers, but you're really not. You're just explaining things, and you can do it calmly and peacefully if you want to do that. But if you're angry about something, maybe not the first time, but if it happens 3 or 4 times, before that 10th time, just be like, hey, if you're gonna do that, can you like clean it up, because I don't want my desk to get stained? Or, hey, do you mind putting a coaster down, or do you mind putting it somewhere else when you come and chat with me in the morning? Like, and if they continue to disrespect your boundary, whatever, let them have it. But you can't expect people to do the things that to stop doing things that anger you if they don't know that. because Mars and Taurus can have a big poker face. So you should be aware of the fact that your emotions can be hard to read sometimes, especially anger and aggression. And you don't necessarily like being assertive. Taurus isn't necessarily a very dominant sign. They would rather everyone kind of leave them alone and let them do their own thing and be on their own terms. So they're not trying to like, they are more concerned with their own personal well-being and that kind of a thing. They're not really, and controlling their own personal life and their own personal space and boundaries, rather than Scorpios that tries to control everyone else's space and boundaries and resources. So you would rather just be left alone. So you don't like to cause that many problems. And it seems like Mars and Taurus would be a little bit more assertive. But really it's only when you're pushed. Though I challenge you to just be direct about what it is that you need. You can certainly be direct about things. You don't really play games. If anything, you just really keep too much to yourself sometimes. And sometimes you need to get that stuff out. But really, I love Earth, Mars signs. I think that they put a lot of good foundational work and groundwork and resource gathering stuff into the world to make it work the way that it does. And that's really awesome. So this was just a really general overview. If you have this sign, I hope you learned something. If you know someone that has this sign, I hope that you understand them better. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are interested in following current day astrology, where the planets are now, what they're doing, and how that's affecting us, I have a forecast project that I've been working on, which is $5 a month. And I also do birth charts for anyone that is interested, and more information about both of those projects can be found on my website, which I will link in the description box. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna have classes out soon, I promise. It's a big creative leap for me, and I'm building my confidence and planning out how I want to structure it and working everything with the camera in my studio. But I'm really looking forward to that and any feedback you guys have. Thank you so much for the love and support. I'll be back soon with Mars and Gemini. Peace.